We are so back with more schizophrenic second channel content. Today we're watching Radicalized. Are femcells the new incels? By Channel 4 documentaries. Femcells and incels often get conflated with each other. Incels are involuntarily celibate men who typically breed on 4chan and scurry under rocks on the internet and just,
I hate my life. Nobody gives me pussy.
But today we're gonna learn about femcells, the opposite. Women who can't get dick. And remember, incel denotes involuntarily, as if they're not equipped with the tools to get the job done. We're supposed to feel bad for them.
This is one of the darkest corners of the internet, a space where women calling themselves femcells are posting extreme and sometimes violent content.
Really? One of the darkest corners on the internet?
To go inside the femcell community to find out who these women really are. Are they the female equivalent of incels? And just how extreme might they be?
Let me tell you the difference between an incel and a femcell. Incels will shoot up a school. Femcells will become an aesthetic on TikTok.
If you start researching the word femcell, it pops up all over the internet. There's femcell book lists. There are femcell Spotify playlists, which is just loads of Lana Del Rey.
Does that make me a femcell? Because I fucking love Lana Del Rey. She dropped out of Fordham just like me, for real, for real.
Femcell hashtag on TikTok has nearly 1 billion views. It feels like it's a real identity. That's quite ironic and self-deprecating. And then you have this other end of the spectrum, which is a quite extreme misandry and these forums where people are discussing being a femcell and what that means and seeing it as quite an ideological worldview. It feels pretty dark in here.
Moid is a new one for some of you. That's what women call men, because in incel terminology, they call women femoids. So this is the girl version of that.
I'm a moid.
It's supposed to be derogatory, but,
There's like posts here saying, I think all men should start off in jail.
Got a cute little chart. Let's see how accurate it is from a moid's perspective. 0 to dead. You are dead. How are you reading this? Are you a ghost? 1 to 4. Femcell. You are not real. Moids don't believe you exist or care. You are too picky. Just date an incel or something. 5 to 6. You're a normie. You are a real girl. Moids date you, but they will dump you for Stacy or Becky. 7 to 9. You're a Becky. You are hot, but not enough to be a Stacy. Try harder, or moids will dump you for a Stacy. If you are a 10 out of 10, you're known as a Stacy. Congratulations, you are the hottest girl. Moids will dump their girlfriends for you, but be careful, moids can also dump you for another Stacy. They know it off the chart. You're known as the one. You are Belle Delphine or underage, or an anime or game character, or a high school girl. You are the one that all moids want but cannot have. Well, I think I speak on behalf of all moids. We're not all pedophiles, you know? Second of all, Belle Delphine is so fucking mid, like, hello? You're out of touch.
Hey Ellie, I've just got access to a Discord server which has got a few femcells and incels in there.
Okay, so that takes me into a server, and it looks like I'm on the holding page where I've got to answer 7 questions. Discord's essentially a modern-day chat room.
We're so doomed, bro. When the documentary has to educate people on what Discord is.
Where people can have real-time conversations with people in private servers, and often you have to be invited into those servers and accepted in order to have chat.
Speaking of which, if you want to join my femoid incel lair Discord server, you're going to want to subscribe to the Patreon, where you'll get exclusive access to our Discord server.
And I'm chatting to a femcell, Al. So she says that she's been part of this community for 3 to 4 years, and she said she finds it very comforting to have the femcell term almost as a security blanket. I'll ask her what she means by that. I really love to try and meet Al in real life. I feel like she's exactly what I speak to try and get my head around what it means to be a femcell. I've literally just had a message back from Al, and she's agreed to meet with me. I just don't know what to expect. It's really hard to know from a few conversations online how immersed in this world she is and how extreme her views are. I think this is like a real launch pad to like understand where to go next.
What is this, an Elden Ring real-time event? What sort of NPC is she about to meet? By the click.
You describe yourself as a femcell. What does that mean to you?
Femcell to me just means someone who has, gone through enough life experiences with men to sort of have this, like, disdain for them.
You really have to blur your identity. It's that bad?
And it shouldn't be an insult to us. You know, we are involuntary celibate, and we do hold these radicalized feminist views.
I guarantee you can get somebody to sleep with you, because that is all an incel wants. Femcells, on the other hand, probably have a fucking tier list, an agenda, a notepad that every single guy has to tick off. Meanwhile, incels are at the bottom of the Mariana Trench waiting for a fucking crumb of female validation. Please, give me something!
So why not make a community out of it? 3 years ago or so, you would have been able to go onto Reddit and find communities made purely just to post pictures of men, or to, you know, dox men, or do anything like this to just basically ruin the lives of a man.
That's your problem, man.
What are your views on men as a whole then?
I don't hate them particularly. I constantly feel threatened, especially in relationships. I don't really show emotions to them. I don't, you know, give them the time of day.
So would you describe yourself as involuntary celibate?
I'm not celibate, nor involuntarily.
Then you're not a femcel. This is just a cute aesthetic that you don, kind of like a goth girl, so that people will feel bad for you.
Incels, it's the lack of sexual and relationship experience that makes them an incel. Whereas for femcells like Al, it is the past experiences that makes them consider themselves femcells. It feels that Al found this online community of like-minded people who may have had similar experiences, and that is her definition of a femcel. And I'm really interested in trying to find out whether that's the case across the board, because it feels like it's a lot more complex than just being about sex.
Yeah, you see, for men, it's literally just about sex. But for women, they just seem scorned, and they form a group chat and talk shit about dudes that they can't get to stop talking to them.
So I set up a new TikTok account a few days ago, and I've just been engaging with content that I think is kind of linked to the femcel aesthetic or the femcel community. So it's a lot of stuff about eating disorders, a lot of like nihilistic mental health content that talks about not wanting to get better, not being able to get better, feeling very helpless.
Boo fucking who? Why do I not feel bad? Am I a psychopath, or is this complete and utter horse shit?
If I was to use the word femcel, what would that mean to you?
There are negative connotations with that word because it's so incel adjacent, and obviously incels are associated with extremism, violence, misogyny, that sort of thing. So for me, it's hard to escape from that negative meaning of the word.
Bro, this girl is identifying as a femcel.
Have you had any relationship experience?
I've never had a relationship, unfortunately. I've never had any sort of experience past a kiss. I do feel shame about it. So I'm 28. I feel like I'm going to be 60 odd, 70, and I'm just going to have lived my life alone. And it's scary. It's depressing.
Oh, God. Do you know how many guys?
The thing that is wrong with me is my facial appearance.
Huh? Have you seen some of the women around?
It's tricky for me because I don't want to be another person who you feel is dismissing your feelings, but it's hard for me to look at you because I just don't see you as unattractive at all.
It's a normal-ass girl.
Why do you think it's that?
It's my body dysmorphic disorder, but also because of the fact that I've never seen anyone be attractive to me. I personally find myself very unattractive.
She must just have absolutely abysmal social cues. Cannot pick up on anything. I have a really hard time believing not a single man gave you any sort of attention where you thought to yourself, huh, maybe he's attracted to me. Men are disgusting creatures, straight dogs, hounds, okay?
I think that I just apply that to everyone else. I get a lot of stares, get a lot of people might smirk, things like that, and I just think, yeah, it's because of what my face looks like.
Can somebody tell her that they're probably hitting on her? What the fuck? How is this a documentary?
And when I go to these communities, you see lots of women who have experienced the same thing. It's nice in a way to have that validation that you're not crazy.
You know what it is? Maybe she only wants the validation from giga chads like myself. Yeah, that's what it is.
It's a place where I pretty much go every day just to read experiences and it makes me feel a little bit better because I feel less alone.
Yeah, that's the thing with these, internet forums and message boards. People cozy up.
It's so nice and warm and comfortable here, and they share stories and fucking, it feels so good to be right.
Go outside. Touch grass. These are not serious people.
So I found Found a pretty big femcel influencer, content creator who posts a lot on YouTube about her experience as a femcel. Her name is Kidology.
Kidology? Why is that the worst name known to mankind?
Why I haven't been in an intimate relationship. It isn't because I am picky. Every man that I have shown interest in has not reciprocated my feelings.
The videos where you speak about the femcel community, who tends to engage with that the most?
That's definitely a majority male audience.
Of course it is.
How do femcels and incels differ, either in their experiences or in their online identities?
I would say that incels very much see the world as the problems, particularly modern society and feminism and the ability for women to be far more picky about their partners, about who they have sex with, about who they form relationships with.
Yeah, incels blame everything but themselves, which is, you know, healthy, normal.
Whereas most femcells that I've sort of seen online especially tend to see it as something that's wrong with them or something internal, especially their looks and having low self-esteem, low confidence, and that it's sort of something that they have to work on.
I simply cannot comprehend this, okay? If you have mental problems, go talk to a therapist. If you don't want to do that, go work out to make the tiny voice go away. If you're unhappy with what you look like, change it.
So femcel spaces might not be particularly violent, but I know that some femcels are spending time in online spaces with incels, and I wonder what impact that might have.
Here's a crazy idea. We should start a dating app to match femcels and incels. That would go over great. That would totally work out. It's not like these people are broken and need to fix themselves first before they ever fall in love with somebody.
I'm on my way to meet Al again and another girl that she lives with who also identifies as a femcel. I'm feeling quite nervous actually. I've got no idea what they're going to tell me or what they're going to show me.
At this rate, I'm gonna start identifying as a femcel. Fuck it. You know what? Yeah, I'm a femcel. I'm a femcel. I'm a femcel.
So what's the main things that you've found about the femcel community?
To me, it seems like more of a kind of like space for women online.
It's
a fucking hashtag on TikTok. That's all it is.
deeply hidden in the way that you have to know someone in a server or somewhere on the internet to do it. They even think that you might be a police officer or anything like that. They'll immediately just kick you. So you kind of have to almost blend in. And to blend in, you have to be a part of these communities for at least a year.
They're gatekeeping being a femcel. Being a member of a femcel community requires a special invite. Dude, I bet I could infiltrate a femcel community in 4 seconds flat.
I'd love to see some of the servers if you could show me the ones that you're in.
Servers like this, they'll have a channel and it will last 24 hours. Everything will be deleted. It'll be started again tomorrow morning. And so it's hard to navigate.
It's just a bunch of girls who don't shower and share edgy memes and shitpost in a Discord server.
Which is why it's really difficult to track. There is like a lot of crude things like this, obviously, and incel like sexualizing women. And these characters are supposed to be young girls. This sort of humor is spread around. It's a kids' TV show, and it's just the caption of, you know, rape, rape, rape. And that's supposed to be absolutely hilarious.
What's the darkest thing you've ever seen in one of those?
I've been sent videos of women being raped.
I mean, how old were you the first time you saw something like that?
I would have been around 14. Women being raped.
I mean, how old were you What's the darkest thing you've ever seen in one of those?
I've been sent videos of women being raped.
I mean, how old were you the first time you saw something like that?
I would have been around 14. Youngest I'd seen gore was probably 11.
What is going on?
There was a server that my housemate was in, and the server was a very harsh and psychotic server.
Do you think she could maybe show us?
I think she could. Yeah, I think she'd be willing.
Holy shit, it's the blue-haired femcel raid boss.
It was this server that was advertised as like femcels and incels only, you know, extreme gore, extreme views, do not enter.
Get a fucking job, bro.
What's your experience largely been like as part of this femcel world?
Seeing like bad stuff, like people killing themselves, seeing people getting bullied, getting doxxed. I don't enjoy it, but at that time I was so bored. I was like, well, this is entertaining to me. I obviously know now that was like fucked up and wrong, but at the time I was depressed enough to be like, well, I'm killing myself anyway, so why not?
Let me get this straight. Channel 4 is tasked with investigating the femcells, but the femcells are just part of incel servers. These aren't femcells. These are all hippies who can't get the perfect dude.
How much of a contributing factor is some of the violence that we've seen in the incel community, that desensitization to violence?
Desensitization is like a huge thing. You do see it and you're like, interesting. You move on. You see another thing. You move on. After years and years on the internet, you cold.
I still can't get over the fact that the main point of being a femcel is listening to Lana Del Rey. Because color me a fucking femcel. My pee tastes like Pepsi Cola. You can't be an incel if it's not involuntary. That sums up this entire piece. British documentaries are trying to compete with the History Channel for being dramatic and over the top. You visited 3 sad women and called that a documentary. This is why I don't pay the TV license.
How much danger do you think there is that we could see a woman end up as violent as someone like Elliot Roderick from this community?
I do think there is potential for like a real violent act. I think we will get there. And the world will go, oh my god, how did she do that? And I actually don't think it proves anything. Like specifically, like, oh my god, women can do this too. I wouldn't say it like that. I'd say like, well, you let incels do it. You know, you let this happen, you let men get mentally ill. You know, you didn't let men express their emotions.
It is the victim's fault.
You know, women are getting more mentally ill. I think something like that will happen in a couple of years and the world will be shocked and will go, oh my god, like, how did this happen? But I expect it, to be honest.
Good for you, buddy. Good for you.
You got that thread still, or you got anything that you can show me from that?
I don't have that specifically, but I do have some content from there.
Oh my god.
This was something that multiple people did in the server. Like,
You can't watch that.
I know. It's hard to see, but as a group, maybe 4 or 5 people did this specifically.
Can you describe what's happening?
What is it? What is it? Tell me!
So they're cutting a square. That's her eating it. You know, they're bleeding, he's smiling, like that's funny for her. And they're like commenting it. She's being edited this video, by the way. Show for like 5 minutes of her eating her own flesh. Like, basically this girl, she joins the VC, she fucking cuts herself, she does like sexual acts on camera. You don't even know who this person is.
Actually,
I know it is a lot, genuinely.
I actually find it so upsetting. I don't think I expected it to be.
It is like quite rude. Even for me looking back at this now, considering I heard it, fuck, how did I tolerate that on the deal?
Oh my god, I can't move. Oh my god!
What a joke! Throw me in the trenches, man.
So I came into this thinking that I was trying to investigate what a femcel is and what that community is and what it means.
I'm a femcel. Never forget it.
I almost think that the word kind of doesn't matter, and it's so much broader than just this like idea of a femcel.
Oh my god, women can't do anything right.
Because everyone I meet feels quite different and they inhabit sort of different spaces online.
It's because you didn't actually interview a femcel.
The things they were telling me, the things they were showing me, it didn't feel very different at all to the things I've seen in incel forums. The real danger here is danger to the women in those servers. They are incredibly vulnerable, and I think that is what's really, really scary.
Remember when the female Forever Alone subreddit had to go private because so many men were trying to talk to them? How many women were trying to talk to the men in Forever Alone? 0. Absolutely 0. The female, not the male, determines all of the conditions of the human family. Where the female can derive no benefit from association with the male, no such association takes place. Robert Buffon. the mothers. They're hitting us with the alpha male wolf study, but like the femcell version of it.
Women are the gatekeepers to everything. It's because women are hypergamous. They're always dating upwards. They're always looking for the next alpha male. The fucking AMOG, the alpha male of the group, the guy with the more money, the bigger cock, the fucking taller guy, the guy with the Ferrari.
Guys, my brain is fucking fried, okay? So don't take anything I say seriously and just enjoy the laughs. Subscribe to the Patreon so that I can make better documentaries than that bullshit, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.
This is so funny. They're literally doing the same thing that CNN and MSNBC was doing for the Trump trial. Bro, look at this. Yo, I love this country. We are so stupid, bro. Lock him up! Let's get to Hunter Biden.
Good morning. We're coming on the air because there is breaking news at this hour. A guilty verdict in Hunter Biden's federal gun trial in Wilmington, Delaware. The president's son facing 3 felony counts, accused of lying on a federal form about drug use when he bought a gun in 2018, saying he was not a drug user, and prosecutors arguing he illegally had that gun for 11 days. After deliberating for about an hour on the first day about...
Lock him up. Lock him up.
2 hours today, they have found him guilty on all 3 charges. Count 1, making a false statement in the purchase of a firearm. Guilty of count 2, making a false statement related to information required to be kept by a federal licensed firearms dealer. And guilty on count 3, possessing a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user or addicted to a controlled substance. So again, the breaking news at this hour, Hunter Biden found guilty on all 3 felony charges. Let's get right to Terry Moran outside the courthouse. Terry?
That's right, David. You've got it. All 3 counts, guilty as charged. About 3 hours of deliberation. 1 hour yesterday, 2 hours today. The jurors got to work, and they came through with this verdict. Each of these counts required the jurors to take into account what Hunter's defense was here, which was basically that while he had abused drugs, as he confessed in his memoir, Beautiful Things, that the jurors heard plenty of evidence about. At that time, Hunter Biden said since he didn't testify, but his lawyer presented evidence that he did not feel that he was actually abusing drugs at that time and therefore was not guilty of these crimes. The jurors rejected that, guilty on all 3 counts. Hunter Biden arrived in court just before the jury was brought in and read the verdict.
Terry, let me ask you about the show of support in the front rows of that.
I think there's nothing funnier than this trial causing Republicans to be like, listen, if you're inebriated, you can't own a gun. Pussy. Federal gun laws are there for good reason. That's right. We need more gun control in this country. I've said this before, but Hunter Biden being prosecuted and being found guilty of a thing that like every Republican has done at a certain point. It might not be crack cocaine, okay? But certainly certainly either shooting a gun or owning a gun, lying on forms when you are attempting to purchase a gun. Like this is a staple of right-wing fundamentals. This is like if he had also been found guilty of being like a deadbeat dad that doesn't pay child support, this would literally be like the most right-wing thing that you can get caught doing.
That courtroom, as we know, the First Lady, Jill Biden, there supporting her son every day but one in this trial. Multiple members of the family and friends close to Hunter Biden, all there. We know in the closing arguments, the prosecution, well aware of that image right there in front of the jurors, saying of family members, the First Lady, the friends who had gathered. Essentially, that does not matter here.
Biden made an abrupt visit to Delaware to hug Hunter. You can feel the emotion in this photo taken this afternoon. On a human level, the conviction is his only surviving son. Has to be gutting for Joe Biden. Jesus Christ. Aaron loves Brandon so much. It is like, oh my God, dude. You can feel the emotion. It's like, yeah, dude, he's a dad. Like, he probably doesn't love the idea that his son is going to go to jail. It's his turn, Hunter for president. I agree. I think Hunter Biden should run from prison.
As That's exactly what they said, David. None of that matters. Pointing at the Biden family, at the First Lady, who was here almost every day, took a whirlwind trip to France to join the president for the D-Day commemorations, and came right back to be with her son. And
did he get convicted of doing drugs? No, he wrote about it in his memoir. He wrote about doing drugs in his memoir while he simultaneously was like getting a gun, and lied about it while getting a gun. So yeah, no shit. Now let's be real, this would not be happening if Hunter Biden wasn't Joseph Robinette Biden's son, or if Joseph Robinette Biden hadn't been the president. Okay? Ultimately though, lock him up, I say.
Yeah, it was part of the closing argument of prosecutors there. Prosecutors saying no one is above the law, no matter what their name is, no matter who is in court.
And Terry, the defense, Hunter Biden's defense team had tried to argue in closing arguments that the prosecution...
Yeah, they're also posing who smokes crack and then flash people with a gun. So cool.
While they had ample evidence that Hunter Biden was a drug user, that the window of time to...
False statement in person of a firearm, false statement related to the information required to be kept by federal firearms license dealer, counter possession of a firearm by a person who is an unlawful user of or addicted to a controlled substance.
Directly surrounding the purchase of the gun, the defense had argued the prosecution had not made the case that he was using drugs in that, that window of time, a very small window of time. And apparently, the jury didn't buy that.
They didn't buy it, and in part, David, because of the law that the judge read to them. The judge, as is customary, as is part of the process, reads the jurors the law that they will apply to the facts that they heard in this case. And part of that law was that drug use for the purpose of this law did not have to occur on the day that Hunter Biden bought the weapon.
I think there is no funnier karmic justice for a man who has literally done so much to, one, criminalize drug addiction, and two, create an infinitely worse penal punishment structure for specifically the American black and brown population than having your own only remaining son who hasn't died go to prison for those two things being violated here. Okay? It's just like, I am a big Hunter Biden fan. As you guys know, he is a big hog. He wants strippers to unionize. He's being punished for those things, for the record. He's being punished for being awesome and having a big old dick, and also being Joe Biden's son. But, it is a little bit of a karmic justice there, isn't it?
And check that federal form, that it could be evidence of a pattern of drug abuse or drug addiction around that. And that certainly was clear in this case. So the defense was fighting an uphill battle, not only really against the facts, but against the law as the judge gave it to the jurors here. Now, I should say that in court, the defense, as is customary, right after the conviction was announced, renewed an appeal for an acquittal from the judge in order to preserve an appeal. They've noticed essentially that they will appeal this case.
So what happens now, Terry, legally to Hunter Biden?
Free Hunter Biden walkout Friday, June 14th, 1:30 p.m. Spread the message. That's what happens to Hunter. We're doing a walkout, folks. The power move is Trump becoming president, then he pardons Hunter Biden. Yeah, that's not gonna happen. He will definitely he'll throw Joe Biden's bitch ass in prison too.
Sentencing next, and these are very serious federal crimes. These are crimes that carry very heavy prison sentences, 10 years each for the false statement and 5 years for the illegal possession of the weapon. Now, that is highly unlikely to be applied to Hunter Biden, anything like that in this case. Experts tell us that for a first offender like him, someone who did not use the gun at all, he just kind of bought it, stuck it in his car, there's no evidence that he was going to use it in any kind of a crime, it would be highly unlikely for Hunter Biden to see prison time. But these are, as I say, very serious charges.
No, lock him up. 25 years, baby. 25 years, okay? He needs to spend the rest of his life behind bars.
And it may well be that prosecutors will ask for some prison time, given the nature of the charges, given what others might face.
Back to you with this news.
Send his ass to Gitmo.
So breaking, Hunter Biden found guilty on all charges in his federal case over misleading on a gun form. Big news for the man sitting in the Oval Office, the President of the United States, Joe Biden, his father. And with that, we'll bring in White House correspondent Jillian Turner. She's at the White House. What's happening there, Jillian?
Hi, Kaylee. Well, President Biden, as you mentioned,
Dude, this is so funny. They're literally doing the same thing that CNN and MSNBC was doing for the Trump trial. Bro, look at this. Yo, I love this country. We are so stupid, bro. They are doing the exact same thing MSNBC was doing. Now, obviously, with like Trump, he was the former president. Like with Hunter Biden, it's the president's son. It's a little different, but you know. He's really about to go to prison for this shit. It'd be really funny if he did. Lock him up. That's what I say.
Is here at the White House. We are actually expecting to hear from him, see him publicly on camera at 1:30 when he is headlining a gun violence.
Dude, this is awesome. Like pure resentment, pure party resentment is going to cause the criminal justice system to start like addressing criminals on either side of the political spectrum for just pure resentment against the other side. Like, can you imagine we just start arresting CEOs and shit? When the Republicans are in power, Democrat CEOs go to jail. When Democrats are in power, Republican CEOs go to jail. Like, don't threaten me with a good time, man. I'm on board with this shit. From prison abolitionist to capital punishment in 1 week. It's funny that Biden spoke at a gun safety conference after the verdict. Yeah. I mean, Hunter is kind of harshing his vibes a little bit. His pappy's vibes. Like, dude, what the U.S. President Joe Biden just threatened his citizens with the use of F-15s?
They want to think is to take on government if we get out of line, which they're talking again about. Well, guess what? They need F-15s. They don't need a rifle.
U.S. President Joe Biden just threatened his citizens with the use of F-15s. I mean, he's right. Like, that's basically a meme. Maybe he didn't even do a good job of saying what he was trying to say, but he ain't wrong. You got F-15s? No? Then shut the fuck up about rising up against the tyrannical government, bitch. The government is tyrannical already, dumbass. What you mean? Have you? I haven't seen your ass rising up. Can't even rise up against the top of the hour ad break, which you don't need an F-15 for, to be fair. All you need is a $5 a month subscription or a free one in the form of a Twitch Prime. That's how you can rise up against the top of the hour ad break and defeat it and no longer see those ads. Here's the 3-minute ad break now.
Prevention event, big event across
Park and watch.
town.
Thank you for the
So we
5.
are
Get the subs.
anticipating there is at least a chance he may address the verdict just handed down to his son. In the interim, we have a brand new statement issued by Ian Sams on behalf of the president himself. It says, as I said last week, I am the president, but I am also a dad. Jill and I love our son, and we are so proud of the man he is today. So many families who have had loved ones battle addiction understand the feeling of pride seeing someone you love come out the other side and be so strong and resilient in recovery. As I also said last week, I will accept the outcome of this case and will continue to respect the judicial process if Hunter considers an appeal. Jill and I will always be there for Hunter and the rest of our family with our love and support. Nothing will ever change that. It's notable, Kaylee, that in one breath in this statement, the president says he respects essentially the outcome in this case and then mentions the fact that Hunter's team is considering an appeal. It's also interesting that they mention an appeal at all at this particular moment, given we have not heard that from Hunter's own defense team. So it would seem that the White House is the first to put out an official comment confirming that Hunter is at least considering appealing the decision here. We have heard from the president at a couple of key moments on his son in the past. You may remember very famously back in 2020, he told Peter Doocy that his son had done nothing wrong. We've heard a couple of times in the last few months from Karine Jean-Pierre in the White House press briefing that the president has no plans to pardon his son. Nobody at the White House has just commented on record as to whether or not the president may consider commuting his son's sentence, something that we are now sort of standing by to try and learn as quick.
Yeah, the reason why this is pretty funny is because it surely is not unlike Trump doing it. This can happen to anyone. guns is an edge case, right? No, that's the funniest part. This literally could happen to many Republicans. So, like, many Republicans are not going to be running for president and simultaneously trying to pay hush money to a porn star that they have sex with, okay? Because they feel like the porn star is going to come out and it's going to hurt their chances of being elected. But almost every one of the Republicans celebrating this shit could also be swept away under identical terms. Like the Trump thing, they're not coming after me, they're coming after you, and I'm just in the way is bullshit. But for the Hunter Biden situation, the people, be careful what you wish for, man. You wouldn't want that shit coming after you, big dog. Oh my God, dude. American prison population would increase so dramatically. What were the charges? Lying on a federal gun, lying on a gun purchasing form and being in possession of a weapon while being addicted to or using a substance that is illegal. Matt Gaetz agreed with you. The Hunter Biden gun conviction is kind of dumb, to be honest. Oh my God. But dude, Trump literally scarred a woman, supposedly another one of the minors at the time. Yeah, but those things are not prosecuted in this situation. Trump is not convicted or guilty of that, at least in a criminal court. That would be something that threatens Republicans in general and could happen to Republicans as well.
It's possible here. So again, we're probably going to be hearing from the president in about an hour from now if he is running on schedule. He is going to be speaking here in D.C. at a national gun violence prevention event. We will be keeping a close eye on that to see whether he addresses this verdict himself. We also have the White House press briefing coming up at 2:30. We anticipate a lot of questions at the podium from Karine today about this verdict. Back to you.
Will the president commute Hunter's sentence? That is a great question for the White House briefing room. We will see if it is asked. Judge, you mentioned
this year comes out and says, you know, we're going to take a look at that and decide whether or not something is rooted in history and tradition, which is a basis to continue it as a constitutional right. It exists there. But as Jonathan Turley said, and I think that we need to remember this, because going forward, everyone's going to say the Supreme Court still hasn't ruled on whether a drug addict can have a gun. This guy has been convicted of lying on a federal ATF.
Dude, there's nothing. Dude, this is so funny. Yo! She's literally, you are nailing so many of your watchers right now. It's nutty how you cannot lie on a federal form when purchasing a weapon. Yo, that's so sick. That's funny as, it's like, dude, if this was a Republican being convicted under similar things, it'd be like, the communist Biden regime is coming after all of your weapons. They want to kill you. They want you unarmed, waiting with a butter knife to be raped by migrant roving bands of criminals. When it's Hunter Biden, they're like, yeah, we have to kill him. Capital punishment is the only way that this freak will make sure that he is not a harm to the broader public. He has lied one time. He can lie again. Last week, they were talking about our prisons obsolete. Last week, they were talking about Angela Davis ass shit. Like, oh, well, should we even? What are crimes anyway? What are crimes anyway, you know? Really? I'm asking seriously. Why could we limit the freedoms of a human being, another human being? Are we God? It goes against the very nature of man to be shackled in this way. We have to free everyone from prison. And now Hunter Biden, now it's the Hunter Biden trial. They're like, we need to kill him.
So whether or not the Supreme Court goes forward and says, you know, we're going to give everybody the right to have a gun, even a drug addict, which I find a little hard to buy right now, he still is different from the normal category of individual.
Yeah, the funny thing about what Judge Janine just said about SCOTUS isn't taking up the issue about whether a drug addict can own a gun. They are taking up the issue as to whether a convicted domestic abuser can. Yeah, that is currently something that the Supreme Court is looking at. And very likely their answer is going to be the Second Amendment is more powerful than restricting arms sales to convicted domestic abusers. And another funny aspect, I thought the judicial system was rigged. What happened? Well, sometimes it's good because it punishes our enemies.
So he is a convicted felon who has lied for that purpose.
You know, Kevin, we are less than 1 hour from President Biden giving remarks. Again, about an hour from when he learned his son is convicted. You've been in Biden world. What is happening now?
Well, certainly, I think the president is feeling the anguish right now of this decision. And we talked about this during the break, that, this is a father that's worried about his son and relapsing. But he's also a president of the United States who has focused for a number of years, going back to his time in the Senate, on passing legislation that's going to stop gun violence in the streets, restrict the size of magazines, some of these assault weapons that are out there. So I think you can have two of these things be happening at the same time. A love of a father, a support of a father, a worry of a father. Hallie Biden threw out that gun, not because she was worried about Hunter, using it in violence. She was worried about him taking his own life. And that now, there are more gun deaths by suicide in this country.
Bro, these are my lines. I say these words, not you. You're Fox News. Hello? Excuse me? What is happening right now? Oh my God. I'm losing my mind right now. What the Yo! Yo! We are a nation of laws.
That is what Barack and I think about every day as we try to guide and protect our girls through the challenges of this unusual life in the spotlight. How we urge them to ignore those who question their father's citizenship or faith. How we insist that the hateful language they hear from public figures on TV does not represent the true spirit of this country. How we explain that when someone is cruel or acts like a bully, you don't stoop to their level. No, our motto is, when they go low, we go high.
I don't consider myself, and I don't believe I have ever been considered to be a part of the dirtbag left. But I'm certainly a little dirtbag adjacent. I've been known to be a little grimy. I don't pretend to be one of the thoughtful, civil, coastal elite style leftists or one of the Tumblr-educated, cozy-core, too-online leftists. I'm kind of mean, partial to shit posting, and I think I'm indulged in the politically incorrect joke or two. Oh no, I sound like a British comedian about to do something insane. What I'm trying to say is I get the appeal of edgy humor with a political bent. I get the appeal of cyberbullying public figures who have expressed views antithetical to an account perma-banned from Twitter for allegedly sending death threats to Matt Walsh and Tim Pool and Kaya Reddick. When they go low, I go to hell. But I think that there are some valid criticisms of crudeness and incivility as politic. And I think that largely that tactic is overplayed and has run its course. Hello, I'm Hoots. This is my channel. And today I want to talk about the politics of vulgarity.
Okay, so first of all, let's list every slur. Listen, I may slur evidence. I don't really care.
Holy shit, you are such a little tender queer. I don't really want to do that. You people have like worms in your brain, honestly.
I mean, you're the one who can't answer the
The dirtbag left is a term coined by Amber Lee Frost to describe a political style that eschews civility and embraces vulgarity, popularized by a conglomeration of mostly left-leaning New York City podcasters in the mid-2010s. That's a lot of words just to say crap in a crack house. Basically, in the mid-2010s, there was definitely a frustration that was beginning to be felt amongst younger progressives with the way that a lot of establishment Democrats and conservatives reacted to then presidential candidate Donald J. Trump. There was this horror and disgust at his lack of decorum, his rudeness, his incivility, and that's all fine and good, but liberals were falling over themselves to congratulate Trump's conservative primary election rivals, whose ideological positions were virtually indistinguishable from Trump's. They just had better speechwriters and tailors, and arguably, that was their downfall. But I'm not really here to relegate the concept. It was kind of disgusting to see so many centrist libs championing the aesthetics of politeness and fairness over ideological substance. Sure, it's fucking embarrassing that now and forever I'll live in a country that had a reality star for a president, but the problem with Trump isn't that he's a rude void. It's that he's a reactionary demagogue whose politics consist of fucking over everyone except his close circle of friends. Like every other Republican. And the vast majority of Democrats. He just acted like less of a dweeb while doing it. His crude candor and third-grade vocabulary made him a clown, but it also made him popular. I've never known a person that could be both intentionally and unintentionally funny with such consistency. People related to him, even if they didn't like him. And a lot of the left took notice. Vulgarity could be strategy. In an article for Current Affairs from 2016 titled "The Necessity of Political Vulgarity," Amber Lee Frost defends vulgarity and japery as crucial rhetorical weapons that have long been used in the intellectual battles of our revolutionary history.
Vulgarity has always been employed in revolutionary rhetoric, perhaps most notably in the propaganda leading up to the French Revolution. The pamphleteers of France were all too happy to satirize and smear the upper class with the utmost malice. Clergy, royals, and anyone else in power were slandered and depicted visually in all manner of crass and farcical political cartoons. Of all the public figures subjected to such vicious derision and gossip, often highly inaccurate gossip at that, Marie Antoinette was singled out for especially inventive and vicious taunting. True to French tradition, the slanderous pamphlets, called libelles, were fond of wordplay. For the Austrian-born Antoinette, they coined Autrichienne, meaning Austrian bitch, but also resembling the French word for ostrich. Thus, layering a visual pun upon a verbal one artist actually portrayed Antoinette stroking a massive ostrich-like penis, complete with legs and a saddle. There are arguments to be made over who constitutes a valid target, but when crude obscenity is directed at figures of power, their prestige can be tarnished, even in the eyes of the most reverent of subjects. Caricature is designed to exaggerate, and therefore make more noticeable, people's central defining qualities, and can thus be illuminating even at its most indelicate.
In her essay, Frost cites a political tradition of vulgarity that unites the French revolutionaries, Vietnam War protesters, the 1988 NWA track Fuck the Police, and the outrageous speeches of Donald J. Trump.
The depravity of the atrocious acts committed by the powerful far exceed the depravity of any swear words one could use to describe those acts. The death and brutality of Vietnam didn't just deserve an F-word or two, but warranted every last curse that could be spoken by the human tongue. And as the 18th century French knew, monarchy is the real barbarity. It was the libellistes who were the true allies of the Enlightenment.
There's something almost John Waters about this that really appeals to me. Embracing vulgarity and filth, holding it up as a foil to the real trash. Épater la bourgeoisie, as 19th century decadents would say. Shocking classics. But if you're like me, the Marie Antoinette example Frost focuses so heavily on in her essay may have been questioned. A Vietnam War protester wearing a jacket that says "fuck the draft" and Donald Trump calling for an outright Muslim ban instead of the obfuscating euphemisms preferred by other members of his party are improprieties that are still clear and direct political statements. Marie Antoinette stroking a massive penis shaped like an ostrich is less so. This is just misogyny, right? Someone realized that the words Austrian bitch sounded kind of like ostrich, and also wanted to draw sexually explicit caricatures of Marie Antoinette. Satire requires clarity of purpose, and what are we trying to say here? That Marie Antoinette likes to ride big, thick cocks? Why are we making her sound so cool and relatable? She's just like me, for real, for real. Now, many people on the left, particularly those sympathetic to dirt biggest tactics, will claim that appealing to the misogynists and perverts who just wanted to call Marie Antoinette a bitch and see her stroking some dicks pushed said perverts over to the anti-monarchist cause. Come for the women-hating, stay for the politics, so to speak. And likely that was the case for some of the legalists and their leaders. But some were definitely just there for the women-hating, right? Now, you may be thinking that from a tactical perspective, it doesn't really matter what someone's motivations are, as long as they throw their support behind the just cause. And that is where my opinions diverge from those of my fellow scumbag socialists. I think it's fun to make fun of bad people, but I think when we're trying to wield mockery as a political weapon, it's at its sharpest and most deadly when we wield it in a way that centers our ideological goals. Otherwise, we run the risk of making our enemies look cool or funny, or giving them just cause to claim that they're being victimized. Or even worse, we run the risk of shocking the middle classes becoming our primary objective. Scandalizing and challenging the woke orthodoxy that dominates leftist spaces becomes the priority over any previously held political goals. And in the very worst cases, irony gives way to bleak nihilism, and the desire to push back against politeness and civility transforms progressives into reactionaries.
Hi, are you a fan of Bernie Sanders?
Yeah.
What do you like about him?
That he's a socialist.
Why is socialism good?
Are you like, I don't really want to do that. What is this for?
Why do you like Bernie Sanders?
For InfoWars?
Yes, we are InfoWars.
I think he has a lot of integrity. I like his values.
Exactly what values?
Eating the rich.
Eating the rich. Well, are you aware that Bernie Sanders lives in $3 million homes?
No.
Yeah. And are you aware? I'm going to ask you something. So if they're about eating the rich, why do you think so many of the 1% support socialism?
Is that true?
It's very true. Well, for example, you know Venezuela, right? A majority of the country is currently eating rats, while their politicians are drinking champagne on a daily basis. The 1% of Venezuela. Well, I'm saying, since if Bernie Sanders were president, right, and he wanted to bring the same ideas as for socialism into this country, don't you think that we would benefit? Yeah. I just told you Venezuela is eating rats.
But I just want to healthcare. I don't want
I can't believe I'm talking about this on my YouTube channel. Okay, so for the blessedly unaware, that InfoWars video is from the South by Southwest Film Festival in March of 2018. The woman in the sailor outfit is Dasha Nekrasova, an indie actress who is promoting the film at South by Southwest. Bernie Sanders was slated to give a speech at the festival, so InfoWars sent reporter Ashton Whitty to find Bernie supporters to dunk on. It did not go well for Ashton Whitty, and the video went semi-viral, earning Dasha the nickname Sailor Socialism, and InfoWars ended up deleting the video. But Dasha uploaded it to her Twitter and Instagram accounts, and this is where it went seriously viral, scoring her interviews with Teen Vogue and Vice, and a featured segment on Last Week Tonight with Don Oliver. Dasha uploaded the first episode of her podcast, Red Scare, with her co-host, art critic Anna Kachin, 19 days after the original InfoWars video was uploaded, and Dasha tagged the podcast in the replies to her re-uploads. So the podcast grew big and grew fast. The show has boasted celebrity listeners like Chloe Sevigny, Elizabeth Olsen, and Lena Dunham, and guests like Slavoj Žižek, Angela Nagel, Tulsi Gabbard, and John Waters. Red Scare was one of the seminal dirtbag left podcasts. It was initially unabashedly socialist, unabashedly anti-woke. Anna and Dasha were and still are highly critical of the liberal white feminism that still dominates mainstream feminism, and of identity politics, which they view through a narrow Marxist lens as a bourgeois distraction from class consciousness and meaningful political change. They're also a pair of incredibly funny, overprivileged New York City mean girls. They're shitposters. Their vibe is best typified by a scandal over some of their old podcast merch. These are some shirts based on the ISIS flag, but if you zoom in, some of the calligraphy looks like the sexy women on the mud flaps of trucks, and the center text says Red Scare. It is provocative without actually saying anything, seemingly designed to trigger both the political right and the left, and something that you can only get away with if you're a skinny, upper middle class white lady, and I want one so bad! I'm kidding. I'm not kidding. I'm kidding. And that was the initial appeal of Red Scare, as a safe space for urban, overeducated, middle-class white girls subsisting on security wages to explore a little transgressive comedy, express our frustrations about the center-right party that's meant to represent the left wing in this godforsaken country. Everything they say is cloaked in so many layers of irony that it's kind of difficult to parse what their actual opinions are, which is very funny for the first 10 minutes of your hour-long podcast, but the shtick quickly becomes fatiguing and sad. Because Anna and Dasha have positioned themselves in opposition to the liberal mainstream, they've mostly committed themselves to commenting on the same culture war nonsense and celebrity gossip that pads out segments on Fox News. They have become the reactionary wing of the nominal left. And while they still signal support for liberal wedge issues like abortion, their politics have drifted more toward the new right. They've promoted vaccine misinformation instead of atheist Catholicism. They hosted Alex Jones as a guest in November 2021 in a bid to rehabilitate his image after he was court-ordered to pay the families of Sandy Hook victims $1.5 billion in damages. They shitposted themselves full circle. They became so irony-poisoned that they became that which they initially opposed. InfoWars for her. In a review of Red Scare for podcastreview.org, Sylvie McNamara writes,
I'm all for vulgarity that reveals vulgar truth. We should mock and demean our political puppeteers and their dupes if it bolsters progressive politics. I think it's fine, at least sometimes, to oppose the ineffectual piousness of mainstream liberalism, not through measured critique, but by modeling a rhetorical alternative. For Red Scare's transgressions obscure more than they reveal. Between petty violations of political correctness, the gayest, most R-worded thing ever is a metal concert with seats. Ironically, taking positions so aggressive as to be absurd. Maybe I should date an abusive man so I can get motivated to be thin. And misrepresenting basic facts, claiming that the Mueller investigation already cleared Trump of wrongdoing. The show collapses into meaningless offense, meant only to spit in the eye of anyone still foolish enough to care.
Recently, Anna and Dasha seem to have even abandoned their myopic brand of class consciousness for something more like political nihilism. They've descended so far down the shitposter rabbit hole that they've completely politically disengaged. To sincerely care about anything is cringe, so they embrace a kind of politics of spite and insincerity. To me, Red Scare represents an extreme case of a pretty common disease on the shitposting left, when the dirtbag typology is centered rather than the leftist. When the desire to shock and provoke and trigger is prioritized over, having good politics, there's a disturbing regressive trend among nominally progressive online personalities. I'm thinking of edgy leftists like Vosh, who somehow always find a way to use their platforms to harass marginalized people. Like when he misunderstood black nationalism and sent his thousands of followers to harass a much smaller creator and call her white genocide enjoyer or whatever. Or when he used J.K. Rowling's trans misogyny as an excuse to promote just general misogyny, I guess. Women be quieter and start apologizing more. That is such a wild take, Ian. Have you met women? I apologized to my couch when I stubbed my toe on it. I'm thinking of Catholics, who apparently grew tired of ratioing transphobes and decided instead to use her platform to harass feminist Asian writer Rosalind Toulousain for 2 entire years. Noodles are tasty has become a rallying cry similar to ethics in video game journalism, an alibi for a harassment campaign that has become a meme unto itself. This isn't activism. This is just a racist waste of time. Binary trolling is not worthy of anyone's time or attention, and certainly not anyone who claims to be aligned with the left. If you're someone who consistently uses your platform to torment marginalized people, I don't really think you're doing leftism, no matter how much you want universal health care and a livable minimum wage. But I've noticed that a lot of people who see themselves as politically incorrect leftists fall into this trap. Saying something outrageous or feuding with someone that your average anime avatar anon thinks is cringe gets you a lot of attention. And we all love attention. But if you aren't careful, vulgarity can sour and become cruelty. And the political weapon of crudeness becomes a blunted cudgel wielded even against our allies. Now, anti-identitarian leftists will say that pandering to marginalized groups is weakening the left, that the woke scolds are off-putting to the white working class who would be on board with our project were it not for all these uppity insert marginalized identity here's. But like, I'm the white working class. And sure, maybe now I live in a major city that skews more liberal and that has influenced my worldview, but I grew up in Florida. In a county named after a Civil War general that votes overwhelmingly Republican every single election season. I've never set foot in a gender studies classroom. I mean, I've never set foot in a coal mine either, but I think that by most anti-identitarian metrics, I should be fairly representative of this imagined white working class. And yet, my politics have drifted further and further to the left over the years. But that isn't because of a bunch of streamers and podcasters stealthing class consciousness into my brain via a giant slur Trojan horse. It's because of people of color, disabled people, queer people I've interacted with throughout the years who have honestly and openly discussed their experiences. It's because I've come to the obvious conclusion that our political struggles are intertwined. And I don't think I'm the exception to the rule here. I think empathy is the default condition of humankind. That's why movies be so good. I'm not exceptionally intelligent or exceptionally easily persuaded. Okay, well, maybe I'm a little easily persuaded, but like, so are most people. That's why advertisements be so good. Also, a massive percentage of the working class are women of color. So even if you are a class reductionist, alienating those demographics is just strategically not good. I think any political strategy that encourages you to abandon empathy for your allies is a misguided strategy at best and actively damaging your cause at worst. As Thought Slime points out in their video on a similar topic, the left doesn't really mean anything.
You'll hear the term used to describe everything from hardcore anarchist revolutionaries to neoliberal ghouls who at least don't actively seem to want to feed gay people into a wood chipper right now.
It's just an umbrella term that means anyone who isn't the right. And if we need to abandon some of our political ideals, some of our comrades, in order for the left want to build a better world, I want that more than anything. Because I don't know if you've noticed, but things kind of suck right now for almost everyone. And I don't think most of it has to be this way. But I can't always be the change I want to see in the world because, well, first of all, I'm just one little hoot. But also because I have this real mean streak that I've come to recognize within myself. And I think that if I'm going to use my platform as any kind of a force for good, I'm gonna need to address the dirtbag within. We were never meant to experience everyone's innermost thoughts at all hours of the day. And we especially weren't meant to experience everyone's thoughts being boosted and shaped by this bizarre attention economy that rewards the wildest, most contrarian takes. We're all on the same page here, right? Social media is ruining our brains. I don't know if it's creating more annoying people or just giving the annoying people more exposure, but either way, I hate it. There are a lot of annoying people in the world, and a lot of them are on the left. I'll even allow you that most of them are on the left, because the progressive left, with all its high-minded ideas of fairness and equity, tends to be more welcoming of annoying people. When I really sit with myself and interrogate what I'm moved by, what I want, my feelings are very clear. I want to build a better world for everyone. Even the people I find really fucking annoying. But I'm also an entertainer at heart, and I like being funny, and I especially like... I often find myself getting ready to quote tweet some marginalized person who's become the main character of Twitter for some outrageous take, you know, chuck my little chihuahua on that particular dog pile. And I end up having to stop myself because my instincts are antithetical to my goals. I want the world to be better for everyone, and sometimes I catch myself in the act of trying to make someone's world a tiny bit worse. Now, I don't give a shit about politicians and public figures who are actively working against the common good. We should be making their lives a tiny bit worse if it's in the service of a just cause. So if the mean girls of the left are bullying Kristen Sinema at brunch or tweeting at Ben Shapiro about his wife's bone-dry pussy, then more power to them. But when the instinct is to turn the spotlight of your ire on random nobodies, I've developed a handy intervention strategy. Keep it in the group chat. KIITGC. Okay, well, the acronym could use some workshopping. Sometimes people are annoying. And sometimes you want to vent about how annoying they're being. Luckily, we have 2 different tools at our disposal for just such a situation. The first is friends. Now, some people may be running down to my comment section right now to be like, no, I don't have any friends, but I guarantee you, you do. I guarantee you have at least one friend. And if you don't, you probably have someone in your life that thinks they're your friend, and you should probably try reciprocating at least for a month. You know, just try it out. The second tool is a group chat, which is when a group of friends decides they want a private little place to send each other messages, usually via text on a service like WhatsApp, or if you're old or hate yourself, Facebook Messenger. A wonderful thing about group chats is that they're private and usually filled with people who know you personally. So in a sense, they're kind of a safe space. So when someone tweets out something like, I'm an asexual slut who likes to f, and you think that's silly, instead of dunking on that person in a public forum, you can gently mock it in private. Maybe one of your friends in the group chat will even push back on your stance based on their experience or the experiences of others and give you a new perspective on asexual sluts. I've certainly had my mind changed about things in group chats more than once, and I don't think that that would have been possible had the same conversation been hashed out on a public platform with people I didn't know or trust. Hell, even when the group chat has broadly agreed with me and has indulged in a little private contempt, I think we're all entitled to a few mean-spirited jokes in the privacy of our own homes, as long as those jokes aren't permitted to spill over into the public sphere, where they can hurt other people. Leftists don't need to repent for impurity of spirit. We aren't Calvinists or whatever. I'm seeing that's what Calvinism is. I honestly don't know. I've never been inside a church. What's it like? I've heard this rewind now. Church enjoyers, please leave a comment below. I keep coming back to this idea of centering the leftists over the dirtbag. In shit posters whose mockery devolves into hollow cruelty, I see something of myself reflected back, and I don't like it. I'm even trying to make an effort to be better about mocking people's appearances when I'm talking about genuinely bad people. You know, Gwen Shamblin won't hear you mocking her withered hand, but your friends who have never used hand lotion will. Whether I like it or not, I am a person with a public platform, and I need to use it responsibly, or I might seriously hurt someone. And I don't want to do that. I think the part of me that is mean and sardonic is probably never going to be fully excised, but she can be pruned and tamed. Like the red rose grasped within the fist, I don't need to prick the hand of solidarity. Is there anything more exhausting than a leftist media critic in 2023? Part 4, why listening to Joe Rogan is like being an accomplice to murder. Whatever happened to just let people enjoy things? I think it's mostly fine to enjoy things, even things that are a little problematic. I made a whole video interrogating my feelings about that. I'm really proud of it. You should check it out. If you have a soft spot for Chapo Trap House, this essay was not intended to dissuade you from listening. They have excellent guests on, and they produce limited series on what I consider to be important topics. Hell, even if you listen to Red Scare, I'm never gonna be really interested to know what proportion of Nosbols are into Frozen 2. Amber Lee Frost has a memoir aptly titled Dirtbag coming out the same week this video comes out. Wonder what that's about. I still plan on reading it, but I stumbled upon an early review of it from a fan who was disappointed with the book's dated and parochial politics.
Frost's entire 2019 article denouncing Warren in favor of Bernie, a topic nobody needs to learn. To the extent that the book is a history, it's fair for Frost to recount the main political opponents of Warren during the Bernie campaign, though she might have included the alt-right too if this was really her intention. But we're living in 2023 and know the aftermath of the Bernie campaign beyond its defeat. Why not consider that? However, the book, save a few prolific mentions of COVID, but literally ends with Bernie's defeat in 2020. Frost has the good sense not to write an apology for Bernie's failure, a left-wing equivalent of Clinton's "What happened?" But the book does conclude on a resigned note. Frost sees no immediate path forward for the socialist left and recommends readers try to recover their energy, disconnect from the media, read the novels, and keep vigilant and faithful. In another department, she could have recommended that readers practice self-care and go to brunch. The supreme irony of the book is that for as much as Frost loathes progressive libs, she takes what were once the insults she and her ilk lobbed at them and offers them sincerely to her viewers.
This bitter, cynical millennial shtick is getting old, and it's only in service of the status quo. I'd like to offer up some alternatives, so if you're looking for content that isn't made by disgruntled 40-year-olds who stand octogenarian career politicians, this section is for you. If you're looking for creators who have shitposter energy but have managed to not become totally irony poisoned, I'd recommend the YouTube channels Thought Slime, Mune Cat, and my friends Ponderful and John the Duncan. For podcasts, I think I'd have to recommend my own shitpost of a podcast, Respect the Dead, as well as anything by Jamie Loftus. She's got a number of limited podcast series which are all amazing, and she's just very funny. She's also been a guest on The Daily Zeitgeist several times, which I'd recommend if you're looking for a comedy podcast that covers current events. I haven't listened in several years, though, so don't cancel me if it sucks now. One Dime is another current events / leftist philosophy type podcast that my friend Neil Farrell just turned me on to. If you're looking for creators who are the antithesis of the dirtbag left, you're in luck, because sincerity is back in a big way, baby. Fuck the cynics. Let's get in touch with our momos. Babilla and Turb are a couple of YouTubers who are sweet and sincere and also very funny. And my friends over at The Leftist Cooks are really bringing back emotionality in a big way. I don't really watch streamers. That's not the way I prefer to consume content. So there's like a big gap in my streamer knowledge. But if you're looking for left-leaning political and current event streamers, I have to recommend Kira Chats, Lumiru, and Lucid Fox. All very good, kind people. This is no